turn your electronic devices off, please. A couple quick reminders for me before we get started with our who will be our last lead speakers for this school year. Number one, I know the window is closed, but if you had not had the opportunity or forgot to sign up for the summer strength conditioning programming for summer school, please make sure you do that. Now the window is closed, you have to go down to the Student Service Center and talk with them about which section you would like to be a part of the sign up for that if you haven't. And if you have but your friends have not, please direct them down there to get them signed up as well. Okay? There will be a lead group survey sent out by me on Monday. It'll actually come from Ms. Losi. Just like last year, I send that out to get your feedback and information. Okay? Those of you that are returning lead kids that were part of that group last year, that are here again this year, as you can see, the updates and changes that we made from last year to this year are based off of the feedback and the information you gave me from that survey. Okay? We talked about having more alumni coming. You talked about wanting to see more college, university coaches, and student athletes come in and talk to you. That's what we've got this year. So I know you guys get a survey like every other day here, but I can promise you that if you take the time to fill out the 10 or 11 questions I have on that survey, even if you are going to be a senior this year and you're leaving, please take a couple minutes and fill out that survey for our LEAP program. This is a program that I want it to be something that you guys value and is a benefit to you. And so I value your feedback. So please look for that survey coming through and take a couple minutes and do that survey. The group we have today is some UWSP wrestling. Coach Johnson has come up this morning for us. He's brought 3 of his student athletes here. And they'll go into talking aspects of leadership, what they look for in their program, and how they run things from a student athlete department. You'll get some different points of views from their student athletes that are from different schools in Wisconsin and out of state, what brought UWSP and what they look for and things like that. So please give a warm welcome to our wrestling team.
All right, how you guys doing today?
Good.
Yeah. Wish you were outside because it's finally nice here.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little bit of background on myself, kind of how I ended up at UW Stevens Point here in Wisconsin, and then these guys will each talk to you a little bit about their experience in our program and kind of go from there. Basically, my name is Johnny Johnson. I'm the head wrestling coach at UW Stevens Point. I have been at UW Stevens Point for 25 years. I've been the head coach for 21 years. When I grew up in Oklahoma. I didn't always aspire to be a coach. It's just something that I kind of ended up falling into. And basically, I was a wrestler, a student just like you guys in high school, and I chose a school to go to based on wrestling and choose on academics. I would probably advise you to not do that. Choose your academics first. That's the main thing. I went to the University of Oklahoma and wrestled at Oklahoma University and got a degree in journalism. So at no point then I was thinking about getting into coaching. But I chose the program that I did based on how good the wrestling program was at the time. So I spent 5 years at the University of Oklahoma, redshirted the first year, wrestled there. And then when I got done with wrestling at that time, for anybody who knows much about wrestling, you probably see a lot of the RTCs and things like that, guys that have graduated from college and are still training to go on to try to make world and Olympic teams and things like that. Well, back in the 80s, I'm kind of old, back in the 80s they didn't have programs like that. And I was still competing at the time when I graduated from Oklahoma, and so I wanted to find a place where I could still train and compete and try to make Olympic and world teams and things like that. And so I ended up going to the University of Minnesota. I got an assistant coaching job at the University of Minnesota, and it really was basically so that I could train and compete. I obviously came to practice and did some coaching every day, but at that time it was really more geared toward what I wanted to do as a competitor. And then at some point you get to that point where you're done as a competitor because you get kind of too old and that type of thing. And that's when I ended up in the coaching track, basically. It was interesting because through that time, we talk about leadership skills and things like that. Through that time is when I started learning what it was to really become a coach. And the transition for me was actually pretty difficult because I never really thought about what I was going to do beyond my competition days. And so then when I started making that transition out of being a competitor and into a coach, one of the first things that I realized was for me to be a competitor and at the level that I wanted to be at, you had to be, especially wrestling internationally, you kind of had to be selfish. Everything that you did was basically kind of for yourself. But if you want to be a good coach, if you wanted to be a good coach and you want to help other people, it was just the opposite. You had to be selfless. And so that's where the transition became kind of tough because I realized that everything I'd done up to that point I'd done for myself. And now I wanted to be a coach and I wanted to be a good coach. And I realized that everything that I had to do really was geared toward my athletes, the people that I was going to be coaching. And so I kind of made that move from being an athlete to being a coach. The one thing I would suggest for you when you look forward to the things that you want to do, and whether you want to be an athlete in college or whether you want to be in some other job or whatever when you graduate from college, find something that you're passionate about, find something that you love, and work hard at it. And what you'll find out is when you're doing something that you're actually passionate about, that you love, the hard work isn't as hard as it really seems to everybody else because you really want to do it and you enjoy it. One of the things that we have a coaching class that a couple of these guys have been in before that I've talked to before, and they talk about, what is it to be a coach. One of the things that I try to remind myself every day that I walk into the room is that I'm there for those athletes, okay? I'm there for them. I'm not there for me. And again, that's what makes what I do really a lot of fun. I love the sport. I love working with these guys every day. And as long as you can find something that you really care about, and if you want to be into coaching and that type of thing, then make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And it definitely keeps you coming back year after year. What I'm going to do is have these guys talk to you a little bit about our program and what they're getting out of it right now. And then I'll talk to you a little bit more about our culture. This is Karen, Jordan, and Luke. You guys pick who wants to go first.
All right, I'm Jordan. I went to high school at Kimberly High School here in Wisconsin. I wrestled there for 4 years, played some football, ran some cross country. What are we supposed to be talking about?
Your experience.
Oh, my experience? Well, I'll just tell you a little bit on why I came to Stevens Point. I had a lot of really good mentors in my life who kind of encouraged me to go to Stevens Point, or just kind of put it in my eyes, and it's something I kind of had in the back of my mind as I was going through high school. And then I went to Stevens Point for a couple visits and met a lot of great people there. Coach Johnson here, don't let his old age fool you, can still kick my butt. But yeah, just one thing that's great about college is you get to pick and choose where you want to go. So compared to high school, you don't really have a choice where you go. It's kind of where you've been growing up. But for college, the beautiful thing is that you get to choose. So one thing that I was looking for is academics. I'm a physical education major. I knew that's something that I wanted to do. I want to eventually become a coach. So I knew that Stevens Point had a great education program. I knew they had a great wrestling team, great coaches, and like I mentioned, a lot of mentors that I had went to Stevens Point. One thing that I really enjoy about being a student athlete is just the family. You go in, and it's kind of scary at first. You kind of move away from all your friends in high school. Not all your friends end up going to the same places, so it can kind of be intimidating at the start. You go, you leave all your friends, you're there by yourself. But when you're on a team, when you're on a sports team, you just automatically have a big group of friends right away, right off the bat. Since day one, as soon as I got on campus, the team was reaching out to me, helping me get my stuff moved into my dorm room. First day, we're all playing volleyball, having a ton of fun, just hanging out. Yeah, so I guess I got to share a little bit about my experience. Keep talking.
I'm from a really small town in Wisconsin called Princeton. It's about an hour south of Point. When I was in high school, I never thought I would wrestle in college just because I didn't really want to go to college because I was in your guys' boat and I'm like, I'm tired of school. I don't want to do this anymore. But after my junior year and I qualified for the state tournament, I got a letter from a couple other schools in Stevens Point. And then that was when it hit me that, hey, I can really do this, you know, colleges are actually looking at me. And even if they're not looking at you, that's a big thing too. We have a lot of kids that just come to college. Even this year, we had a kid that just came to college. He wrestled in high school, and we reached out to him, and he actually ended up being our starter, which is something that's actually crazy. He was a freshman, didn't get recruited or anything, just came and he started for us. And he did really well, so that's something that's really big too. But yeah, after my junior year, I realized that schools were looking at me and stuff, and I realized that I wanted to do it. So then I had to pick that, hey, I'm going to college, so I had to pick a major. And I realized that I've been an athlete my whole life since I was 4 years old, so I really wanted to work with athletes. So I picked athletic training. And the cool thing about Stevens Point now is it's going to be a master's program next year. So that was one of the big reasons that I chose to go to Stevens Point, because I knew when I first came to Stevens Point for my recruit visit that it was going to be a master's program. And then also my mom graduated with her master's in education from Stevens Point, so I knew a little bit about it from her, and that was one thing. And then going to college, like Jordan said, it's kind of scary when you move away and you don't really know anyone. But like he said, the first day we had upperclassmen moving us in, and then like he also said, you have a family and we all have something in common, so that's the easiest thing. It's like they're all sports teams. And the best part about college is I have Johnny year-round, where you guys have your coaches kind of just as your season, but we have access to Johnny all year-round, which is something that's really nice.
All right. I'm Luke Smiley from Plainfield, Illinois. In high school, I was okay at wrestling. I went to state a couple times, so I was getting recruited by I don't know, 6 or 8 schools, and I went on a lot of visits, and Stevens Point was my last visit. And what stuck out to me right away was just the authenticity of the people that I was working with, and I could tell that everyone was just a really cool person, and everyone had my best interest in mind, so I felt comfortable there, and I felt like that was really big for me, because I knew that I was gonna probably end up going to school far away, because Illinois' in-state schools are expensive, and I knew I'd probably have to be going to school 4 hours away in Wisconsin, so I knew I wanted to be comfortable, and that's something I definitely recommend to you guys when you're looking at schools too. So know that you're going to be comfortable there before you go set yourself out. Obviously, you're going to do things that'll make you uncomfortable, like that first day, you don't know who you're going to be friends with, but being on a team or just being in some sort of program usually helps that out too, because you'll be kind of stuck with a group of friends without even knowing it. So I felt like that helped me out a lot too. I ended up choosing Point too because of just my major. There's a new biochemistry building, and I'm a biochem major, so it kind of just made sense. That's about it.
I just wanted to kind of talk about what Taryn mentioned about having coaches year-round. That's another great thing, is that you really start to develop a relationship with your coaches. So I don't know how close you guys are with your coaches, but I'm sure you have a relationship with them. But one thing that's amazing about college coaches is that they're here for you all the time. They're some of my best friends. They'll send me text messages on the weekend, wish me happy birthday, and ask me how my summer's going. I'll go into their offices just when I have time between classes, and we'll sit there and talk for hours just about life and things we're doing. It's really an amazing thing. It's just one of those things that you don't have as much in high school. That's just something really cool.
So one of the things that Jordan's talking about, and this kind of leads into the way we run our program, is really, and for those of you who are thinking about being a college athlete, thinking about going to college and doing a sport, even if you're not, if there's something in your mind that you think that maybe I could do this, I would definitely try to pursue it the best that you can, because there's a lot of options here in the state of Wisconsin. One of the things that I really noticed when I first got here, there's so many state schools and so many different options for students to go on and be an athlete in college. And there's a lot of benefits to being an athlete in college. But Wisconsin has so many options that don't ever sell yourself short that maybe you don't think that you're a college athlete material, because there's so many different places that you can go here and still compete at the collegiate level. One of the things, there's a lot of benefits to being a college athlete. First of all, the minute you go into a school and you become an athlete at a college, you're automatically joining a group of people that care about what happens to you. Okay? These guys are talking about their teammates and the guys that they met when they got here. And the upperclassmen, it's not like when you come from junior high or high school or something like that, where people kind of look down at you sometimes because you're an underclassman or something like that. The minute they come into campus, and part of that is the culture that we try to create, is they're part of the team. And to them, it's more of kind of like a family. They get to be part of that family right away. So they're in a group of people who care about what happens to you, not necessarily on the mat or on the court or whatever else, but also in school and in life. And we're really going to probably become the best friends in your life. 20 years from now, these guys are still going to be friends. They're going to still be in contact with each other. So they're going to be the best friends of their life. Our chancellor at the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point, did a study about 5 years ago. And what he did is he took the average student on our campus and compared him to the student athletes on our campus. And the study actually, what it came out and showed, was something that we know as coaches, that we've known for a long time as coaches, but now it's actually, hard written data that proves that athletes have a higher graduation rate, they have a higher retention rate, and they have a higher GPA. Okay, and I have this study that shows all of that. And we use that when we are recruiting students, because we want the student athletes that we're recruiting, and the parents especially, to understand that those kids are going to be more successful as a student, just being part of a team. Okay, and so that's a big benefit. When we talk to our guys when they come in, we say that academics is number one and athletics has got to be number two. There's a lot of fun things you can do on campus and on college campuses and things like that. Those things have to be lower in the priority list, if you want to be successful in college and in athletics. So that's a big benefit. The other thing about being a college athlete, again, one of the things you do is you get put into some of those roles where you become a leader. Okay, those are situations you want to put yourself outside of your comfort zone a little bit, because that's where you learn the most, and that's how you learn to become a leader. Different things like that. These guys, I didn't tell them they had to be here today. They all volunteered to be here because they wanted to have an opportunity to talk to me. And I'm sure they're putting themselves outside of their comfort zone a little bit. And that's one of the things that makes them step up. They're all leaders on our team. Okay. So those are different things that you're going to learn as an athlete that you're going to carry over into life. I can tell you that when you go to look for a job, for athletics, you kind of have a time period for athletics. If you love your sport and you're thinking that this is something that you may want to do, you do have a little bit of a time period. Okay, the last opportunity for probably most is going to be that college experience, that 4 or 5 years, depending on where you end up going, to be an athlete. You have the rest of your life to work. You have the rest of your life to do a lot of other things. You have the rest of your life to go to school, but you're going to only have that 4 years that you can be a competitor and an athlete, unless you're going to go on as a professional or compete at a higher level. That's a pretty low percentage. All right, so if you have that opportunity, explore it and go out and give it a try. I can tell you that I have a lot of friends that I coach, actually back in Minnesota, but I have a lot of friends that I coach that are high up in business. I have a friend who's vice president of C.H. Robinson Company, trucking company. I have friends that run their own businesses, and I can tell you they do a lot of hiring. They hire people for their companies and businesses, and they have a stack of resumes that sit on their desk, and they go through those resumes, and if they see college athlete, that moves to the top of the list. Okay, They know that somebody who goes into college, that commits 4 years to be an athlete, that they're gonna outwork all the other people they have in their company. They're gonna outwork those people with a resume that don't have college athlete on there. Okay, so from that standpoint, it's very beneficial when you're looking beyond that. Again, you're gonna be part of a group of people that, you know, that are always gonna be there for you. Those are the types of things that you get out of being a college athlete.
I guess to touch on that, so like being a part of a team, like you do have people there that like care about you, and that's awesome. And they also hold you to a certain level because they set expectations not just for you, but like they know that you want to hold yourself to something, and they care about you, so they're gonna make sure you do that. So I think it's like definitely a really beneficial thing, just in terms of you guys are gonna be freshmen at college at one point, and it's gonna be fun, and you guys are gonna have classes that you can finally just not go to. But parents are gonna get a phone call if you're not gonna go to class. You can fail all your classes, you could not do any of your workouts, and you can just honestly throw your life away. But when you're on a team, you got a lot of people around you that show you that it's possible. You're gonna be like, listen, this guy is not as smart as me, and he's getting good grades. I know he's good. You're gonna have guys that you think you're tougher than, like you know you're gonna be able to outwork them in the weight room and stuff. So just know that you're gonna have fun. Know that they'll have your back, and when you put yourself in a situation to be uncomfortable, you guys will have your back, and you're gonna end up being comfortable eventually.
One thing I kind of want to talk about is leadership, like Johnny was talking about. So I know I was told you guys are like the leaders for your sports teams and everything like that, but can I get a show of hands if there's someone in your mind that you can think of on your team that is a leader, someone that you kind of look up to, you really think? Everybody obviously has that person on your team. For me, being an upperclassman now, that's somebody I really try to be. When I came in as a freshman, I had people like that. If you just think about the characteristics they have, they're hardworking, they're inspiring, they're welcoming, they're helping. Those are all things that I try to portray in myself, and I'm sure you guys too, but that's what really people look for in leadership is not necessarily who's the best at the sport, but somebody who's always there for you and helping you out and trying to help you become the best you can become is a leader to me. Even somebody who, I'm a starter personally, but even there's people who are backups or not starters at the time that give me advice, and I listen to them, you know, like just because someone's better at a sport than you doesn't mean that they're better than you or anything like that, but just leadership takes on more than just being the best, I think. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Yeah.
I think one of the things about being a leader, especially having gone from being an athlete but as a coach as well, is you want to try to lead by being somebody that people will want to compete for, that want to work hard for you. So one of the things, again, I talked about how I try to walk in the room and remind myself that I'm there for the guys, for that team. I don't try to walk in and demand respect. I don't think that that's how you get people to respect you. You have to earn that respect. And part of the way of earning respect as a leader is that you respect the people that you're working with as well. Okay? Be honest with what you are doing, and be honest about the way you communicate with people. Sometimes being honest is hard, you know. Sometimes you have to tell people what they don't really want to hear. But if you're really looking out for them, and you want them to be the best, then sometimes you have to give them that tough honesty. The other thing is you have to try to find ways to motivate them. You have to try to find ways to make them really enjoy and love what they're doing as well. But you have to earn respect, and you earn it by treating people with respect as well. And these guys, you know, I feel like they probably know that I really care about what happens to them, and that's important to me, is that they understand that. They also know that there's parts of our program that are not a democracy, you know. And as a leader, sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to make the tough decisions, and you have to live with those decisions, and you have to own those decisions, whether it be a good decision or a bad decision. The reality is you're going to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's how you get better. That's how you get stronger. Just taking those risks and make some mistakes and make decisions when you have to make them. But I also, we make a lot of decisions together too, with things that are important in that program. Speaking about our wrestling, more wrestling specific, but the culture that we try to create, and I think it's not even that I create, it's that these guys create, is that our team is like a big family. And the team concept in wrestling is more important than anybody can ever imagine. I think, I don't know how many wrestlers are in here, but a lot of people look at wrestling as an individual sport, and it isn't. It's a team sport more than anything. The reason I say that is because when you step on the mat and compete as a wrestler, it's individual. But to get to that point, to be able to compete at the highest level, you need a team. You need a group of guys that are like-minded like you, that are motivated, that want to work hard. You can't train and be a good wrestler without having a team. It's just impossible. So from the training part, which is the biggest and most important part, you have to have a team. You have to have a group of guys that really care about what happens to you and how hard you're going to work and hold you accountable on a daily basis.
Just kind of spiraling off of that, one thing that I try to do is help everybody around me. So if I'm doing something that's really helping me, I kind of want to spread that to the people around me too. I know there's a lot of people out there that would be very selfish, and if they're at the top level, they keep all the secrets to themselves on how to become that level. But personally, I don't think that's how you become better. There's people who are fighting for my spot, and when I'm wrestling them, I'm telling them how to beat me. I'm telling them how they can be better themselves, so that way that challenges me further. I can become complacent and just keep beating everybody that I want, but I'm not going to better myself if I just keep that to myself and keep everybody down below me. You're going to rise by bringing everybody with you.
Definitely. I guess part of being a good leader too is just treating everyone like an equal and with the respect that you kind of want back. But another thing that I think that it takes to be a good leader in general is just knowing when to push yourself and knowing when to kind of give yourself a break. I know that like being a student and an athlete is really stressful on you guys, and you probably hold yourselves to high standards and want to win championships. You've got winning mentalities, but at the end of the day, you got to be healthy and know what's best for you. So just always to keep yourself and your mental health and your physical health in mind. Just keeping yourself healthy and don't get too stressed out. Don't worry about the little things. That's what your team's for. You guys will eventually come around, and have fun. It's the main thing. Always having fun. It's a short time that you guys get to compete. Just have fun.
I think going off that having fun thing, being on a sport, it's never going to be easy, especially like Smiley said, being a student athlete, there's a lot of things you have to balance. Homework, going to class, getting in extra workouts, lifting, going to practice, going to the AT room if you have injuries, balancing relationships. It can be very stressful, and that shouldn't deter you. Like Smiley said, keeping your best interests in mind. You know yourself better than anybody. You need a day where you need to take a rest and not get in that extra workout and maybe catch up on sleep or catch up on schoolwork. You're going to find ways to balance it all, but ultimately you should be having fun. It should never be a punishment. It's going to be easy just to be like, yeah, I don't want to do this, but I think for me, I have a lot of fun every day. I go in and I work my butt off until I'm exhausted and can't even stand up, and I'm having fun while I'm doing it. It's my choice to be there. Nobody's forcing me to be there. So if I'm not having fun, I'm not going to be there. But have fun with what you do. Taryn?
You guys are taking it.
Yes.
So you're gonna have fun with a fun team.
Do you guys have any questions about anything?
Yes, for sure.
After your leg,
I had ACL surgery.
has it managed?
Number two.
The first one did. This is my second one. So, yeah.
Yes.
Is it ever hard to like find sleep time before school?
In season, it really can be. Like I said, there's a lot of things that you have to balance, but if you manage your time correctly, you will have free time. It can be easy just to sit on the couch and zone out for half an hour because you're so exhausted. But if you get your homework done, you go to class and just manage your time effectively, at the end of the day, or you'll find time. It's not like high school where you go to class from 8 to 3 every day. Sometimes you'll have class starting at 8 o'clock, sometimes you'll start at 12 o'clock. So that's kind of the difference there. But yeah, you'll have time to do the things that you want.
I feel like it helps you with time management more than anything, because you like are stuck to a schedule more so than other people.
That's one of the reasons we talked about that study that was done. If you're an athlete in college, a lot of your time is already managed for you. Probably the biggest mistake that college students make that aren't successful is because they don't manage their time right. If you're an athlete, you're basically kind of required to manage your time a little better, and you've got people there that that's their job, is to make sure that you're doing that. For us in particular, and most athletics teams, you're going to have study hall during that time as well. We run ours a little bit different than other teams. A lot of other teams, 2 nights a week, where all the freshmen are required to be in study hall. What we do is we require all of our freshmen to do 5 hours of studying a week, and then they have to check in with us during that time that they do it. So they can actually do it during the day between classes, so they can do it in the afternoon or whatever. But that's another thing, is that those people are there to make sure that you are managing your time. Like Jordan said, that's really the way that you're going to be successful. So, is it a lot of time? Yes, but you manage it the way.
Any more questions? Keep them coming. This helps us. Yes. Question. Yeah.
Yeah. You got a question? All right. You guys with the Blue Jays?
Question. Yes.
What is the difference for you guys? You guys are all 3 different grade levels in college right now.
Him and I are the same.
What is the difference that you noticed from maybe your culture or climate at your high school, or your team that you were part of, or wrestling or other programs you're part of, compared to what your climate or culture is with the wrestling program at the university at Stevens Point?
Yeah, go to it.
Well, like I said, I'm from a really small school, so I graduated with 38 kids. So, yeah, it's pretty small. And my team was the second biggest sports team at our school. We had the full 14 or whatever plus extras. So yeah, I don't know, like 20 kids probably, which is kind of crazy for my school. And then going to college where now we don't have a roster limit, so we start off the season with 45 kids, 40 kids, something like that. And you know, it's all of us, the ones that make it to the end. We're all, like Johnny said and everybody else said, we're all close together. So there's not a day where some of us aren't doing something together. And we're in high school, you know, like you guys go to class, you guys go to practice, and go home. Where in college, we're doing stuff all the time together. And I think the big thing with the high school culture is you guys are just there to go to school and wrestle and everything. But once you go to college, you guys are basically like I've known Jordan. I knew Jordan in high school, but not at the level of, obviously now we're on the same team. So like he's one of my best friends, and even Smiley, you know, he's only been here for 2 years, but I know more about them than I do have the kids I went to high school with, which is kind of crazy.
I think one thing that was different for me from high school to college is I went to a bigger high school. I think a lot of you guys probably know about Kimberly. But one thing for me is that in high school, from my perspective, things were really cliquey. So you had your group of friends here and your group of friends here. But in college, it's not like that at all. You have friends all over. I have friends on the wrestling team. I have friends in my major. I have friends from all over. I go to class every day, and you talk with everybody sitting next to you, and you make friends with them. Like Terrence said, you're always doing stuff with different people. So when I'm doing homework, I'll go find a friend who wants to sit down and study for 2 hours, or if I'm going to lunch, I'll bring some along with me. And I just think there's just a lot of opportunities to meet people, and if you allow yourself to open up, you really meet some great people. Some of the differences too is that there's so much more freedom. Like Smiley mentioned earlier, nobody's forcing you to go to class every day. Nobody's forcing you to do your homework. Nobody's telling you to do this, telling you to do that. You can go and do whatever you want. Once you realize that, you kind of start to become independent in that way. So making decisions for yourself is really cool. You get to learn a lot about yourself. There's nobody telling you to get a job or do things like that, but you kind of do that on your own, which kind of feels good, you know. Once you realize that you're making it basically by yourself, it's a really good feeling.
For me, I definitely just had way more fun in college than I did in high school. My wrestling program specifically was like really bad in high school, and by the time I graduated, I broke all like the really bad records that we had there, and it wasn't even like impressive because we were really, really, really bad. So then I got to school, and like now I'm like meeting guys in the weight room, like this guy Jerry is a 16-time All-American, multiple-time national champion, and like we've got a good history for wrestling. We're gonna meet guys that are good all the time, and it's just cool being around like a winning culture. Just because I remember in high school, like it does seem kind of individual for wrestling when you got a really bad team. Because I would walk out there and like for a duel, if you get a pin, you get 6 points. I'd probably get the 6 points for our team. The other 13 matches we put up or we throw away 60. So it's like not really that fun watching your team go out there and get destroyed and just not have any success other places. Another thing too, just off of like not just winning but like attitude. A lot of people from my high school were there just to win, and it was sort of not like helping each other out. It wasn't really a good culture, and I felt like that's another reason why we weren't really successful. Like it doesn't matter how good you are, if no one works together, you guys won't be better than some of your parts. And at the end of the day, when I walk into the wrestling room or into the weight room in Stevens Point, I know that I've got teammates to help me out. And it's just a good part of the culture. So definitely something I enjoy doing. Any other questions?
How do you guys deal with someone who's being negative?
Well, in wrestling, we can beat each other up, so I usually keep them up.
For me, I think one thing that I've kind of learned to do now that I'm an upperclassman is just kind of transition them into the culture we have now. So someone can come in with a really bad attitude and kind of be negative all the time, just saying bad things, and they come to practice and be like, "Oh, this is stupid. I'm tired. I don't want to work hard." But for me, like, I just kind of, without them knowing, I kind of grind them down into just having a better attitude. So if they come in and they're having a bad attitude or saying negative things, I'll just give them small comments that they won't even realize. Be like, "Oh yeah, but we're gonna have a ton of fun." And like, even if I know it's gonna be the hardest practice of my life, be like, "Oh yeah, we can do this," you know. And just over time, just slowly start to pick up on that, and then before you know it, now you got Terrence saying, "Yeah, let's do this. Let's have some fun."
Yeah, there's times where in our room, practice sucks. And Jordan and I like to just scream stuff randomly just to kind of bring the mood up. It's really dumb, but it works.
You know, I answered that wrong.
Nah.
Honestly, if your teammates have a bad attitude, like you should know that they're probably going to you and saying stuff because they know you're a leader. Like, if you really think that like you have like an impact and you have a question coach, and you think that you can use your discretion and it's really not good, and you want to speak up and it's getting like I don't know, too hard, it doesn't make much sense, then go ahead and use your voice because you are speaking on behalf of your teammates when they elect you as a leader or you feel like you're a leader. But at the same time, you got to lead by example as well. So always know that, like, if you can do it and you tell them that they can do it, 90% of the time they're going to be able to do it. can change their attitude really quick. And if you're wrestling, just pick them up.
Just kind of rolling off what Taryn mentioned about us just screaming things. One of the hardest things that we do during the wrestling season is monkey rolls. Raise your hand if you know about monkey rolls.
Long rolls.
Long
Yeah.
rolls.
Oh yeah. So, coach, it's one of like the last things. It's part of our conditioning. He'll say, all right, get in groups for monkey rolls, and then you just kind of stare, like, just drop their heads and they're sad. But
Coach does them with you?
nah.
Our coach does.
Oh, what?
Oh.
Jake does them every once in a while.
He's good at starting the clock after like 5 minutes plus doing it.
Yeah.
5 minute long
He
rolls.
forgets to start the clock.
All right, 5 minute monkey rolls, throws 10 minutes on the clock.
All right, thank our group today for coming.